There are already thousands of green berries on the holly trees, shortly to turn red for Christmas. The designs for this year's Christmas card are already printed and in the shops and have been gathering 6 weeks' dust on them. Today is Friday, the 27th of September, and we are already preparing your Christmas broadcast for this year, 1962. I am opening it because on Monday next I shall already have started work at university. That is the 1st of October. Your first Christmas present is already on its way across the Atlantic, and Mummy has already had her first packet of Christmas labels, stickers, and spastic stamps. When you listen to this, the news I shall have to tell you will be old news, and the greetings I have to send you will be old greetings. But now I must congratulate you on the arrival of your new baby. At this time I do not yet know what the baby's birthday will be, nor what its name will be, nor even whether it will be a boy or a girl. Yet perhaps it is pleasant to be receiving greetings on the arrival of a new child at Christmas. When I go back to Birmingham tomorrow, we shall be carrying on the top of the car our old playpen and the large cot. For two of my friends at university who married last year have now a child about 3 months old. A pretty little girl that was born in Somerset while I was acting in Cheltenham earlier this summer, and whom I went to see immediately afterwards. Also, by the time I get back there, my two Canadian friends, Betty and Fred Weinstein from Montreal, should also have had their first baby. They will be returning to Canada sometime in November, and as you did with Mvanwi, they are planning to have this baby on the National Health. Both children will be living in the same house in Birmingham, a large Victorian building divided into furnished flats, which already contains most of my closest friends, 4 married couples and 3 single gentlemen. Meanwhile, today, Mummy and I will be going around the house, planning my far distant future when I may set up a home of my own. We're going to be weeding out the furniture that's going into the new house, and seeing what out of what is left I should like to keep. This will be put into storage. At the moment, Mummy is at the village checking to see whether I can vote next year in the next general election. When she comes back, we will set out on this grand tour, throwing out this bed and keeping that, throwing out this bookcase and keeping the other, disposing of waste paper baskets, blankets, and sheets, keeping this picture frame and throwing out the picture that was in it, and so on. What she wants, what Mary wants, and what I want, and what nobody wants, will each go into separate piles. For there cannot be long now before we shall be moved into the bungalow, sometime soon after Christmas, I suppose. So far, the bungalow has no roof, or at least only a felt roof, but the tiles are standing in piles around it, and the electrician has already put in the points, and the fireplace should be installed sometime next week, and the bathroom by the week after. After that, it's only a matter of decoration and finishing off, and perhaps a little levelling out in the garden to make it possible to develop something more attractive than the present heap of rubble and bricks that finish at the moment. By this time next year we shall be well ensconced in that house, and this one will probably be either empty or inhabited by some stranger. Seems a pity in a way to leave a big and beautiful house like this, but with me leaving probably at the end of next summer, it would obviously be useless for Mummy and Daddy to stay in this house. Anyway, you probably know as much about the progress of the house as I do from Mummy and Daddy, so I'll talk about other things. I mentioned earlier, in passing, that I'd been down in Cheltenham this summer acting. Well, for the last 2 years, the theatre group at the university has taken over a small amateur repertory theatre in Cheltenham for 3 weeks and produced 3 plays. Perhaps I told you about last year's. This year we did the same, and the 3 plays were Romeo and Juliet, Don Juan, or at least a new translation of Don Juan by Molière, made by one of our lecturers, and much changed, and Ghosts by Ibsen. It was quite a successful little venture, though not financially. I didn't really approve of the way most of the plays were produced, except perhaps Don Juan, but then this was personal. and there was no doubt that there was quite a lot of polish to most of the acting and production. My part, as usual, was fairly small. I was in the first play as Tybalt, and most of my acting was not spoken, but fencing. This was rather fun, in its way. The fights were all staged, of course, but we managed to convince the audience there was a good deal of viciousness in them. I bore the scars of one attack from Romeo for quite a long while on my chest, and the poor boy that played Mercutio, whom I had to kill every night for 10 days, and twice on 3 nights, was literally punctured all over his lower left ribs. One particular night he got a really nasty scar, and because halfway through our fight the point of my sword broke off and left a jagged edge, and though I pulled the lunge as much as possible, it still hit him quite hard. It was partly his own fault, because out of bravado he refused to wear any padding or to ride the blow. However, no real damage was done. Altogether, the trip down to Tottenham was most enjoyable. It's a hard working sort of trip. We work about 10 hours a day, but there's also a jolly festival atmosphere in the place at the same time. Since then I've been sailing with Mummy and Daddy. We had 2 weeks down at the Isle of Wight, as I expect you know, and another week across at Fareham. I have been in various races, not all with the Silhouette. I've had 2 races in the Y-class boats that Mary sails in. First one we won. That's to say I was in the boat one. It was one of the 2 top boats this year, and so I was lucky. And the second time, we came next to last. We were last all the way round the course until the very last second, when we just pipped the boat in front of us by a fraction of a second. Apart from that, Anthony and I and a girl that was staying at the hotel entered Anthony's dinghy in the harbour sports. This is a sort of water carnival, where they have swimming races and dinghy races, that's to say rowing races and outboard motor races, anything except sailing, in fact, on a greasy pole. We were handicapped on the size of our engine, and as it was a brand new one that day, we won, having come in 5th on actual placing, but on the corrected time. Anthony was pleased as anything, as you can imagine. Apart from that, Silhouette's been in 2 races this year. The first one I went in with Robin Fitch, down in Bursledon regatta. This was not a great success. We lost our racing instructions almost immediately after starting, and thought they'd gone overboard, but in fact they were hidden underneath some things that fell off a bunk the first time we heeled over. And we found about after we had retired from the race, or rather gone on the wrong course, thinking that it must be a storm course, that we should have been going a further 3 miles, and so we had to retire from that one. In the other race, which was the Peg Cup race presented by Daddy, Mary and I sailed at Bangor and came in 3rd, which we didn't think was too bad, really, all considered. We've got a new spinnaker sail this year for the boat, but so far we've only had it working successfully twice. This time we lost about 20 yards on mucking around with it. Not that it would have altered our position in the race, though had it worked properly we might have picked up a position, who can tell. As you may have gathered from the clicks on this recording, I've started and stopped several times, partly to gather the thread of what I've been saying in the previous sentence, and partly because I started this recording this morning at 10 o'clock and then gave up somewhere about 1/2 or 10 or 11 o'clock, and it's now after midnight this evening, or rather tomorrow morning, or this morning. Anyway, work it out for yourself. The others have just gone to bed, and left me to finish this off before I follow them upstairs. This afternoon, Mummy and I have done much of the sorting out that I was talking about earlier. Most of it's been throwing out toys that have got broken over the years, and books that I shan't want. So one way and another, it's been a bit nostalgic. Then, of course, it must have been nostalgic for you several times in the number of moods you've had, even if you haven't stayed in one house as long as we seem to have done in this one. I've been here, I suppose, since I was 8 years old. Seems quite a long while now. It's 2/3 of my life, almost, anyway. Anyway, I'm glad to read about your house in Richmond. It sounds a beautiful place to live in. We met a girl down in Yarmouth who was brought up there. Mummy had quite a long talk with her, really. She said it was one of the most delightful towns to live in the whole of the US. Anyway, I expect, or at least hope, I shall be coming to see you within the next 2 or 3 years. Perhaps not as soon as when Mummy and Daddy come over, but not long afterwards. But right now, I'm beginning to feel rather sleepy. So I'll wish you all goodbye and a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I suppose now it'll be 8 of you in your part of the family, and with Mother and possibly some of the others, we might be getting to around 20 by the time you listen to this. I don't know. Perhaps they can't all come down there now. Perhaps you're too far away. Anyway, God bless you all, and a Merry Christmas again.
Silent night, moonless night, guiding star, lend thy light, see the eastern magi bring, gifts and homage to the King. Jesus is here. Jesus the Savior is here. Hello. Today, as Mummy has most likely told you, is the 17th of the 11th month of 1962. I've forgotten which month it is, but you will most likely know. Boarding school is very nice for me. I'm enjoying myself a lot, and I'm doing reasonably well in most things. I have come home today specially to talk to you on this tape, and I hope you are enjoying yourselves a lot, as I am. I am sorry, but my singing on the tape is not very good, as I have been in sick bay at school and have rather a sore throat. I can sing better. Mummy has got rather a shock when I asked her to play Silent Night for me. But evidently she got over it and started. John, as I hear on the tape, is going back to Birmingham soon. I hope you are going to be able to see us again sometime, as I would like to see you. Congratulations on your new child, and I hope to see him as well. I hope he will enjoy himself and grow up to be a strong lad, like most of your children, except Mary and Miffy. But of course, You've got to account for the girls, as they're quite tough too, I expect, and help you around with the kitchen and things like that. I, I hope you are enjoying yourself a lot. Mummy, Mummy seems to be in rather a hurry in doing things around home. And as you know, Grandma has got a new house up and is getting in rather a busy state sorting things out to go into the new house, and things that we want and things that John wants. Well, I hope you're all very well. It's just Fox for me. I, I'm, I've been in sick bay at school for 4 days. I got out yesterday. We have wireless on. We have a wireless on in sick bay at school, and we're allowed to read and talk. In the dormitory, there is complete silence, and anybody who is talking gets a black mark called a stripe. We also have good marks called stars. I have 1 star and a half. I wonder how Ricky and Reggie are getting on at school now, and Mary and Miff. Hope they're doing very well, as I am really. My new boarding school uniform is green. Our ties are green and blue striped. We play lots of matches against other schools, and most of them we win. We had a visit of Stanley Matthews at Stoke City this term. It was very exciting for us. He played a match against Victoria College from Jersey, half-time against them and half-time against us. It was really a good match and ended out as a draw 4-4. Sometimes, when he ran off the pitch to take his sweater off or things, he used to punch us and have a talk. Oh well, God bless you all, and I hope you have a very happy Christmas.
Hello to you all. Before I start my Christmas message, and Herbert gives his, we've got a surprise for you. Pat is here for a few hours, specially to speak to you for Christmas. So I'll put her on.
Hello, Betty, Rick, and family. This is absolutely wonderful to be able to speak to you. I had no idea that I would ever have the opportunity of being able to speak to you again. However, here goes to tell you a few of the things that have happened to us since we last saw you in 1955. As you will remember, when we saw you in 1955, you were just about to have Miffy. I can hardly believe now that you have 6 children. And let me say here and now, congratulations on the arrival of David Bruce. How you managed to cope with 6 children, I really don't know. I find 3 quite enough. After our leave in 55, we went back to Tanganyika, and in June 56, we had another red-headed daughter, Jane, who of course is now 6½. I really don't know where the time goes, do you? I think the phone has just rung and it may interrupt this. However, to continue, we were in Tanganyika until 58, when we had 3 months leave at home, and a really dreadful British summer, and we were glad to get back to East Africa again. We then transferred to Mombasa in Kenya, where we were until April 60. At the beginning of 60, Dennis was very ill and had a very big operation, and we were flown home 3 weeks after we had this operation where he entered hospital in London, prior to having, as we thought at that time, another operation. However, thank God, this never materialized, and he has progressed very well since then. However, we were unable to go back to East Africa, owing to his health, and looking back on it now, with the political situation as it is out there, I think that really we are better off in dear old England. We have now been in the Wirral 18 months, and Dennis has just got a fairly good job in shipping management with Nigerian National Line in Liverpool, and we feel fairly settled here. We are in the process of buying a house. We hope to move in Christmas week. Of course, I am madly dashing from sale to sale collecting furniture. It would be absolutely wonderful to have a home of our own at last. I don't know whether you've ever been in the Wirral, or even been here to see Mary where she lives in Birkenhead. But I come into Birkenhead to the market shopping fairly often, and about 6 weeks ago was accosted by, "Isn't it Pat?" And there was Mary. She's so like your mother that I would have recognized her anywhere, but for her to recognize me was pretty good, because we worked it out that it was 20 years since we'd seen each other. You must hear the joke. I am known as the Pepper Queen in the Davises' house. Trying to be helpful when at Mary's for lunch, I laid the table and put the cayenne pepper on it. Herbert, without looking, liberally sprinkled his food with it. And oh dear, how he gasped! So you see, the advent of Mrs. L. in the Davises' ménage was rather disastrous. We have visited Place Wynne a couple of times, and it was really good to meet your parents again. I am sure I have rambled on long enough, so here's wishing you all a very happy Christmas, and God's blessings, and all the very best for 1963.
Hello, Betty, Rick, Ricky, Reggie, Mary, Miffy, John, and David. What a list it's getting, and it gets more and more difficult to know what to send you as time goes on and we don't see you. I hope all our Christmas presents arrive in time, and that by the time you hear this, you'll have opened them and you'll know whether the baby's suit's going to fit in, and the children will know whether they've read the books before, whether they have to hand them on to somebody else. But anyway, enjoy yourselves and have a very happy Christmas. It seems horrifying at this stage, in the middle of November, to be giving our Christmas message, and all I've done is prepare your Christmas presents. I haven't even made my Christmas cake yet. Anthony came home for a few hours on Saturday and recorded his message. Parts of it you may feel need a little explanation. Betty, I think you would remember who Stanley Matthews was. He's a famous footballer, and he seems to have been a famous footballer since I was a very little girl. But the team he now plays for came to Anthony's school and coached the boys in their football, and also had this friendly match with them and another school that was visiting them all the way from Jersey. So you can imagine there was great excitement. So much seems to happen from one year to the next when we do our Christmas tape, and I never can remember exactly how much I've written in letters. Not enough, I know. But maybe Mummy will have told you, in the Isle of Wight this year, Mrs. Weston, who's run the old house where we've stayed for the last 6 or 7 years, is having to give up, and Herbert's found a flat for us, so that we should be able to go down any time during the year for the next 5 years. So after Christmas we face the prospect of looking for furniture to furnish that. And, then also he's very kindly bought me one of the Y boats that John spoke of, the Yarmouth One design. Sometime I'll try and find you a photograph of one. This boat is called Blandina, and next year I hope to race it, during Cowes Week and from Yarmouth, for the 6 weeks that we're there in the summer. I wouldn't be able to race Blandina without the help of a boy called Peter Allen, who maybe you've never heard of, but he lives in Woking, and he's been going to the Isle of Wight for his holidays for years, the same as us. Peter is just 22, and during the last 2 years occasionally I've crewed for him in his Enterprise. Do you have Enterprises in America? Maybe. They're a racing dinghy, about 14 or 15 foot long, with a pale blue sail, very attractive to look at, very lively. Anyway, Peter has promised to crew for me during his 3 weeks' holiday next year. This year, while we were down there, we took the daughter of a friend of ours, Heather Mackenzie. Now, the previous year we took her younger sister Gillian with us, and this year Heather came, and during this last 12 months Heather has many times sat in for us so Herbert and I could go out. And Heather met Peter for 2 weekends. He came for a weekend before his holiday, and another weekend, her last weekend down there, because she came for a fortnight. And it must have been love at first sight. So anyway, she came back for another weekend towards the end of our holiday to come to the Yacht Club Regatta Ball with us, and with Peter. Maybe Mummy told you John came with us as well. And about a fortnight ago they got engaged. So, I can see we shall have her down in the Isle of Wight for a few years now for holidays, because there's no doubt Peter is a very keen sailor. Unfortunately, so is Heather. I read a little piece in the Telegraph this week about Joan Surfleet. Do you remember Joan, Betty? She got married, a few years ago now, and up till last Christmas had 2 daughters, and I see this week in the paper that she's just had a son on the 14th of November. So I must write to her soon. Seem to be so many of my friends who've just had babies or are expecting babies, and I find it very hard to keep pace with who has which sex and how old they are and how many children everybody's got. I wonder how cold it gets in Richmond during the winter, how much further south you are from Vienna. Do you get snow there? I haven't any idea. I don't know the first thing about Richmond other than the beautiful photographs that we've had from one time to another. Other place. Have you got central heating in your house? I think we have. So have we, but it's wrong at the moment because the weather's terribly cold because there's something the matter with it. Has Ricky started at high school? Is that what you call it? I think you do. And how much longer is it before Reg goes? And he has started to learn Latin and French this term. He appears to be thoroughly enjoying them. I don't know how soon Mary will learn subjects of that sort. Her school curriculum is so different from ours. But I'm pleased that all the children seem to enjoy books as much as you and I did, Betty. I still find I read far too much. In fact, I probably read at times when I shouldn't be. If I start a book that I'm enjoying at bedtime, I very often find it difficult to sit down and go to sleep tomorrow. Anthony sounds so grown up to me in his message to you for Christmas. Mind you, he has grown up quite a lot since he went away to school. And I expect the independence is good for him. But the more I look at our wedding photos, which I have done, that's surprised just recently because somebody asked to see them, the more I think how much like John he is in many ways, and yet he still is not very much like Herbert. He's good company now, and mad on playing Monopoly. Do you still have games of Monopoly? Do you remember how we used to play with Ian at Colin when we were young? The trouble is it goes on for hours and hours. Occasionally he'd say it's his nana to play with him, and keep it, and go on with it the next day. We don't think we've ever come to the end of a game. We usually have to count who wins by who's got the most prizes and money. When the Christmas holidays come, I think he wakes up about the 18th of December. He's going to find it very lonely at home because there aren't any friends his own age, very close to us. But maybe he'll be able to have his school friends to stay occasionally. That's one blessing about going to the Isle of Wight. There's so much to occupy him. Making his own friends, swimming and rowing and sailing, and there's nearly always other children in the harbour, even if not in the old house as it's been up till now, his own age to play with. This year he did quite well sailing. He hasn't yet managed a boat sailing by himself completely, although he's thinking about learning them himself. But he has sailed a boat holding the mainsheet and the tiller in suitable light winds, and does quite well, and he can tack. And he's learning the rudiments of sailing very quickly, and loves it as much as I do. He's becoming quite a good letter writer, and I think I must buy him a sixpenny-a letter before the end of term and give it to him, and maybe he'll write to one of the girls, and they could write back and give him news of what they do in their spare time. Do both girls go to Brownies? I expect they do. Unfortunately, Anthony was thrilled to bits to join the Cubs his last term at Birkenhead Head School, but they don't have Scouts or Cubs at his present school, so he won't be in the Scout movement any more. But he thoroughly enjoyed his first few months' trial, and was enrolled, and was very proud of his badge, and although he didn't get any further in his tenderfoot tests, I think probably what he learned in that short time will stand him in good stead from now on. Now I'm quite sure I've filled up enough of the tape. I shall have Molly complaining that there's no room left for her and Daddy. I don't know if there's anybody else who wants to record a message, but I think it's time I stopped. Anyway, you'll all be getting tired of my voice. We're looking forward so much to hearing your tape, Christmas. And one of these days, we'll all manage to meet again, I've no doubt. So God bless you all, have a very happy time, and we'll be thinking of you. Bye-bye.
Hello, Betty and Rick and all the children. This is the head of Oxton Hall household once again. I gather that you've heard most of the news of our doings from Mary and from Anthony. And there's not perhaps a lot left for me to say. I must say that the years creep on, and I'm getting to that stage of life now where I feel I ought to do less work and have more leisure, but it doesn't seem to happen. However, I suppose one of these days it will, and I am hoping that with taking the flat in Yarmouth and the Isle of Wight, that I might be able to have a little bit more relaxation in the next year or two than I've had in the last 2 or 3 years. I think that's about all. We're still all quite well. We're still living in what I call the old mausoleum, and likely to be, I suppose. Doesn't seem these days that I'm ever likely to make the House of Commons as a semi-permanent residence, but who knows, the next election might be in 1963 or 1964, and by that time I might have decided I've got enough energy to fight another battle to get there. But if I don't, perhaps I shan't be as disappointed as once I might have been. I have to stay and work and earn a living instead of doing so much in the way of politics and other work that perhaps isn't quite so rewarding. And now, all the best to all of you. I hope you're all well and that you will continue to prosper, as I gather, Rick, that you are doing. And I hope that the new house has turned out to be everything that you thought it would be and hoped it would be. All the best and a very Merry Christmas to all of you, and especially to the children, those that I've seen and those that I haven't seen. Perhaps one of these days we'll all be able to meet up again. Goodbye for now.
Well, uh, first of all, a happy Christmas to you all. Yes, this is Grandpop, and it now seems a long while ago since we sent that last tape. I know it was my intention to do another one long before this. So while it seems a long time, as I said, really the 12 months have gone very quickly. As with you all, no doubt each day and each week seems to bring their own consuming demands. Each year seems to pass more quickly than the one before. And this year, as you know, has been a particularly busy one for me and Mummy. I finished my year as chairman of the Institution of Electrical Engineers, Merseyside and North Wales branch, in October last. And that, plus a hard year at work in the office, plus new bungalow, have kept me very busy indeed. I expect John or Mummy have told you about the bungalow, which is well behind schedule, but frankly we're in no hurry to leave the place, as the villagers call it. The prospect has raised many problems which have to be solved in the way of getting rid of a lot of things which we have collected over the years. One feels, oh, I don't want to get rid of that, and so we keep postponing the decision and, of course, the action. Incidentally, Betty, I wonder if there's anything you and the boys remember which you would like to have. I know there may be difficulty in getting things to you, but that difficulty we could try and solve when it had arisen. So if there is anything, please do let us know as soon as you can after Christmas. I expect we shall find in due course that something we had thrown away we wish we had not, and vice versa. And I suppose you have heard of Parkinson's law, one of which said that the space available would always be filled. Well, we have to put that into reverse. That is, getting 9 bedrooms into 2. I wonder whether your Aunt Rick and Uncle will be with you for Christmas. Anyway, give them our best wishes whenever you see them. We have very pleasant memories of their visit still with us. I suppose one could carry on and say a lot about the world politics and its alarms, but it's hardly a Christmas message, and certainly not what the children want to hear about. So, how about a song? Here goes. I can't remember whether I ever sang it when Ricky was over here before, but certainly Betty may remember it back in her childhood, and it still comes in useful on occasions, and I amuse myself with it sometimes in the car. It is about old Nor. So here we go. Forgive the singing, but I'll do my best. Old Nor, he built an ark, there's one more river to cross. He built it of hickory bark, there's one more river to cross. One more river, and that's the River Jordan. One more river, and that's the river to cross. Oh, the animals went in one by one, there's one more river to cross. First the woman and then the man, there's one more river to cross. One more river, and that's the River Jordan. One more river, and that's the river to cross. Oh, the animals went in 2 by 2, there's one more river to cross. The chimpanzee and the kangaroo, there's one more river to cross. One more river, and that's the River Jordan. One more river, and that's the river to cross. Oh, the animals went in 3 by 3, there's one more river to cross. The bear, the bug, and the bumblebee, there's one more river to cross. One more river, and that's the River Jordan. One more river, and that's the river to cross. Oh, the animals went in 4 by 4, there's one more river to cross. There came a rush and got stuck in the door, there's one more river to cross. One more river, and that's the River Jordan. One more river, and that's the river to cross. Oh, the animals came in 5 by 5, there's one more river to cross. Some were dead and some were alive, there's one more river to cross. One more river, and that's the River Jordan. One more river, and that's the river to cross. Oh, the animals came in 6 by 6, there's one more river to cross. The hyena laughed at the monkey's tricks, there's one more river to cross. One more river, and that's the River Jordan. One more river, and that's the river to cross. Oh, the animals came in 7 by 7, there's one more river to cross. Said the ant to the elephant, who you're shoving, there's one more river to cross. One more river, and that's the River Jordan. One more river, and that's the river to cross. Oh, the animals went in 8 by 8, there's one more river to cross. They came with a rush because they were late, there's one more river to cross. One more river, and that's the River Jordan. One more river, and that's the river to cross. Oh, the animals went in 9 by 9, there's one more river to cross. Oh, Noor, he shouted, cut the line, there's one more river to cross. One more river, and that's the River Jordan. One more river, and that's the river to cross. Oh, the animals went to cross. The ark, she blew her whistle then, there's one more river to cross. One more river, and that's the River Jordan. One more river, and that's the river to cross. Now, I wonder what you thought of that. Probably not very good, which it really wasn't. But there used to be another one that the children used to like to hear me sing. Well, sing is the term I'm using, and if you don't think it is singing, well, there you are. It's the best I can do. It is this. China is very much in the news now, so it seems quite proper that we should have a song about Chinaman, doesn't it? Here it is. Once in China there lived a great man, his name was Chickaracka Ching Chang Chang. His body was big and his feet were small, and the Chinese man couldn't walk at all. Chickaracka Ching Chang Chai Chackalorum Pomalora Mickey Wicky Whack. Oko Oko Itty-fi 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 Chinese talk. Servants had to carry him about because he was so very, very stout. But when they got to the top of the hill, they rolled him down with a great big will. Chickaracka ching chang chai chackalorum pomalora mickey wicky whack. Oko oko itty-fi 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 Chinese talk. Well now, what do you think of my bit of Chinese? Did you like it? Well, if you did, here's another little one. See if you'd like this one. Ching ching Chinaman, muchy muchy sad. He's afraid all the trade's very, very bad. No jokes, Tony broke, makey shotty shop. Ching ching Chinaman, chop chop chop. What do you think of that one? I expect there'll be a little more time before we come to the end of the tape, and I may have the opportunity of saying some more. But in the meantime, here's a riddle for you, children. How can you make a Maltese cross with one match? You're not allowed to break it. Now, how do you think you're going to do it? If you haven't heard it before, it's a very simple answer. You strike it and hold it under the nose of the Maltese. Ha ha ha. Incidentally, since recording the last lot, I've just been had a look at a program on television at which Bertram Mills' circus was shown. And I wonder if you, Rick, and Ricky and Reggie remember seeing the one that was in Wrexham during your short stay with us. It is still a very excellent show indeed, and it brought back those pleasant memories when we all sat on the front row. And as you put it, Rick, if you're coming to see a circus, surely this is the best way of seeing it.
Hello, Betty. I'm just hoping to put on the tape a story for the children. It'll be coming in a second or two.
This is the BBC Light programme for mothers and children at home. Are you ready for the music? It's different today. When it stops, Eileen Brown will be here speaking.
Good afternoon. Let's ask the girls and boys to come out to play. They've got a special song, haven't they? Girls and boys come out to play, the moon will shine and bright and gay. Be your supper and be your sleep, and join your neighbor in the street. Come with the warm and come with the cool, and come with the good and the rough. The young and old are ready now to serve us all. And I'll my class, and we'll have a pudding in half an hour. And we'll have a pudding in half an hour. Those boys and girls don't want to stop playing, so we'll go on singing. Girls and boys come out to play, the moon shall shine and bright and gay. Be your summer and be your sleep, but join your play and a Christmas tree. Come with the warm and come with the cold, and come with the good with all that. And come the walls of day, now you serve us all. And I'll find glad and we'll have a pudding in half an hour. And we'll have a pudding in half an hour. And now it's time for the story. It's about some children and the games they play together. Julian Ann's going to tell it to us. Good afternoon. I'm going to tell you a story about two little boys and two little girls who had a dog called Buster. Are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. Once upon a time, there was a little girl called Susanna. And one day she said to her mammy, "Mammy, I should like to skip." So her mammy bought her a skipping rope. and she went skipping all round the garden. After a while, Susanna said, Mummy, it's lonely sitting by myself. I'd like to ask Topsy to come in and skip with me. So Topsy came in, and Susanna and Topsy stood facing one another, and they skipped together with Susanna's skipping rope. After a while, Susanna said, Mummy, we're tired of skipping. We'd like to ask Obadiah to come in. Then we can jump. So Obadiah came in, and Topsy held one end of the rope, and Susanna held the other end, while Obadiah jumped over it. Then Topsy and Obadiah held the rope, while Susanna jumped. After that, Obadiah and Susanna held it, while Topsy jumped. After a while, Susanna said, Mummy, we're tired of jumping. We'd like to ask Sambo to come in. Then we can have a tug of war. So Sambo came in, and Obadiah held one hand of the skipping rope, while Topsy stood behind him and hung onto his coat. And Sambo held the other handle of the skipping rope, while Susanna stood behind him and held onto his coat. And they all pulled and pulled. Sambo and Susanna pulled one way, and Obadiah and Topsy pulled the other way. At last, Obadiah and Topsy pulled Sambo and Susanna right over to their side. After that, they all sat down on the grass and had a rest. Then Buster, the dog, came bounding along and caught hold of the skipping rope, and off he ran. Susanna and Obadiah and Sambo and Topsy all ran off to search for Buster and the rope. They searched all over the garden, but they couldn't find it anywhere. Then they ran into the house and searched there. At last, they found him. Do you know where that naughty dog had taken that skipping rope? To his basket. He didn't very much like it being taken away from him, but he didn't mind when Susanna gave him a nice piece of sugar. Then it was time for Topsy and Sambo and Obadiah to go home. Well, said Susanna later, when her mammy was giving her a bath, we did play a lot of games with that skipping rope, didn't we? You certainly did, honey, said mammy. And then Susanna went to sleep.
Well, I don't know whether anybody listening will enjoy the previous quarter of an hour's talk or story with music. To me, it's a very noisy effort, and not at all satisfactory, but as it's the second thing I've put on the tape in an endeavour to use it up fairly quickly, I'm going to leave it, and I hope that perhaps Mary and Miffy and John will enjoy it. Today is Monday, the 26th of November, and it's now after 5 o'clock. We still have the remainder of this side to do and the whole of the other side to do, and there's nobody to talk on it except myself, and perhaps Daddy might find time, because I really feel I should get it in the post by Wednesday anyway. I sometimes wish that we were able to have conversations on the tape, as you have at home. But so often there's only one of us here, and rarely more than 3. It's so nice to hear you going on as a family, to hear all the asides in the background. And we did enjoy your tape last year. It was most interesting. Of course, last year's tape had some reading by David, which was put on as early as Easter. That's nearly 2 years ago. It doesn't seem possible, does it? We haven't seen Eileen and Bill and David for a long time now. We had hoped they would come and spend a little of their holiday with us, but they were unable to come. We've had quite a number of visitors this year, although we've also had quite a number of disappointments, people who said they were coming and haven't managed it in the end. But among those who did come was my cousin Esther and Olive. They were the eldest and the youngest daughters of Father's brother, Uncle Jack. Esther, as you may remember, Betty, was a nursing sister with a missionary society. Originally she originally was with a society that served Indian women in Purda, but of recent years they joined with the Church Missionary Society, and some few years ago she came home to England and has since been on work from the head office in London. But during this year she retired, so now she only does occasional delegation work. A few weeks ago I went to London with Daddy and went to see Esther and Uncle Jack. Uncle is now 96 and still in very good health, considering that he's been somewhat of an invalid since 1915, but one who has always taken good care of his health. He is able to read and converse very intelligently about all the affairs of the day. He keeps himself up to date, his memory is excellent, and in spite of his sickness, which perhaps you remember was tuberculosis, which has deprived him of the use of all but one half of one lung, he's able to walk quite well on the level. In fact, on the day in which I visited them, we both went for quite a long walk in the morning, and in the afternoon he went out by himself to visit his doctor. But to go back to Esther's visit here, they were here for 2 nights, and they had been to visit before reaching us Esther's niece, one of Agnes's daughters. She is married and lives in South Wales. Her husband works for the gas board, and they have 4 small children, under 6. She has a sister who lives in Tunbridge, who was living now in part of Uncle's house. She's a trained nurse, and I have no doubt that Esther finds it very useful to have her with her. She has a little boy of 6 also. And the odd thing is that both the eldest children of these 2 sisters were born within half an hour of each other. Incidentally, the one that lives in Tunbridge, a little boy called Bruce, has his birthday on the same day as your Bruce, and his daddy is called David. Isn't that strange? I may have told you this when I wrote, but if I did, well, you must forgive me. I'm afraid I forget a great deal these days. Esther and Olive travelled to see us in a German-made bubble car. I don't know if you know what a bubble car looks like. It's a very small car, really a covered-over motor bicycle. Sad car, has 1 wheel in front and 2 at the back. And I'm afraid our hills nearly defeated it, but it does manage to get about. It's quite good on the level, but not very much good as hill climbing. They stayed with us, as I said, for a couple of nights, and then they went off to visit other friends across in Norfolk. Also this summer, on our way home from Brighton, after we had been to the conference of the British Electrical Power Engineers, we called on some people who used to live in Hillingdon. I don't know if you remember them, Betty. The Whitmores. Major and Mrs. Whitmore were for some good few years since the war out in Malaya, and their 2 children, a boy and a girl, are now both married. And oh no, I'm wrong. The son is married, but their daughter teaches in a girls' secondary school in South London. The son did very well at Cambridge, and he's a botanist. They've just had their first child, at least I suppose they have. I haven't heard any news confirming it, but by this time the child should be a couple of months old, and they should be either on their way or arrived somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, where he's going on a 2 years botanical mission. As I told you in one of our letters, we also went to stay with Beryl Hunt's parents this late summer. We found it very interesting to talk over their visits to America, and I wonder whether they will have been again since then, or be coming this year, or whether you have seen Beryl yet. Did you ever meet her? Last week I saw Pat Collier, Pat Longy as she is now, and of course I've heard what she's put on this tape. She was thrilled to be able to talk to you, Betty, and I thought you would enjoy hearing her. To go back to our holiday, I think whilst we were in Yarmouth, the Isle of Wight, we told you that we had seen Betty Kenwood. I shall be sending you some photographs of our holidays this week, and on one of them you'll see Betty and Mrs. Kenwood. Well, here we are on the second side of the tape. I have just been talking to you for a quarter of an hour, and thought, well, I'd better see if that's all right, how it sounds, etc. and switched it back to play and discovered that I'd been recording at play, so of course I hadn't recorded anything at all. So now I'll have to make another start. At the end of the other side, I said that Betty and her mother were on the photographs. Also, her son. For the moment, I can't remember what his name is, but no doubt that was in a letter too. Then to go on with what I have said before, I've told you so many things, and now I find I haven't. So I'll have to try and remember them. It seems a little confusing now. I think I said something about the new bungalow. As you have had the plan, you will know something about it, and the colouring gives you some idea of what it will look like. It's nowhere near finished, although if we were in a desperate hurry it could be done in about 2 months. We've now reached the stage where the tiling is finished and the windows are glazed, but we still have to have the plastering both inside and out done. The plumbing then will have to be finished, the floors put in, and after the floors are in, then such things as kitchen cabinets, sink unit, bath, toilets, wash basins, and all those things put in, also the radiators. And then there'll have to be doors fixed, interior doors, and the decorating will have to be done. We still haven't got the outside guttering and downpipes on either. Well, to go back to the roof tiling and the delay with the bungalow, this you might remember I wrote when we were on holiday and said we expected to find that done and the windows glazed when we came back from our summer holiday in mid-September. Well, first of all, the people that we were buying the towels from said that we'd chosen the only colour they hadn't in stock. It was the most popular, and if they could supply any other colour, we said that we would wait until they had it in stock. Then when they delivered the towels, they were not satisfactory. The builder wrote for a further sample, and they were not satisfactory. So eventually we decided that they must go back and we'd buy our towels elsewhere. They were a long time in coming to collect them, and we hadn't room to have the new ones, any others delivered until they were collected. This brought us well into October. Then we chose some new towels with another company. We now have Marley towels, and they came quite quickly after the order was placed, and they were put on sometime last month or the beginning of this month. They're a rather pretty sea green, pale green, with a greyish look about it. The stonework for the plinth of the house is a pinkish granite, and there's a concrete slabbing around the house and to make the terrace in front of the lounge window and the slope that goes up to the front door. We have a clear window in the front outside door and obscure glass in the interior door to the vestibule, and in obscure glass in the bathroom, but all the rest are plain glass windows. Fireplace has been installed, and that is made of creamy coloured Italian marble, laid like small bricks. They're about 4 inches by 1 inch, little slabs of marble, and it has also some pale green marble around the fire itself and along the edge of the mantelpiece. The fireplace actually was made to our special order, but didn't turn out exactly as we had ordered it. But we've had so many delays, we decided we'd put up with it. Now we wonder whether we've done the wisest thing. I had intended to have a row of the green tiles, instead of lying horizontally, to go vertically underneath the mantelpiece, and the mantelpiece to be edged with the glazed tiles that is made of. Actually, it turned out that it had green tiles along the edge of the mantelpiece. And it has made rather a big slab of pale cream-coloured marble. However, it would have meant another long delay and more expense. So no doubt we shall grow to like it. There's still a great deal to be done. All the inside has to be plastered. I think I told you this before. The garage hasn't yet got the roof on. Bad weather has put an end to operations, and we have decided that we won't move from here until we've sold this house. This should be advertised this coming month. So now we should begin having people coming to look at the house. I'm afraid I haven't done half the turning out that I intended to do before we got to this stage. I find it takes me hours to go through things. I've been such a hoarder. I've boxes of old Christmas cards, old letters, old books, and every time I parcel something up and decided it shall go away, somebody comes along and says, "Oh, you're not going to get rid of that, are you?" I looked through some of Grandpa's old photographs the other day, and I decided that I'd like John to have a look at them, and Mary, if possible. Of course, Mary very seldom comes here, and she was only here for an hour or so the other day, and she talked so much she didn't have time to look at them. John had a short look, and promptly said, "Oh, don't get rid of any of those, Mummy. I'd like to keep those. They're very interesting." So no doubt you'll have a look some day. I might bring them with me when we come to see you, if you don't come to see us first. It's the same with books. And I did take some old odd china that had belonged to Grandma to the church bazaar the other day for a white elephant stall. So that has gone, but it's about the only thing that I've managed to get rid of. Of course, apart from the stuff that we have collected ourselves, we've inherited a great deal from Grandma and Grandpa's home, and also from Auntie Nellie's home. Quite a lot of material that she had that I wasn't able to sort through before we had the sale of her stuff. I had to bring home with me. It's gradually being disposed of. I do wish you lived nearer. I wish I had some idea of what you were in need of in the way of curtaining, although I dare say your windows, if it's an old house, are much bigger than Auntie Nellie's were, and really I haven't very much left. The things that I brought in the way of curtains from her home, or the best curtains that she had, apart from those that came with the bedstead, Uncle Jack had. The others are all narrow, and only fit a small single window. If you have a room with 2 or 3 windows, they're useless. Of course, I have a box of china. Eileen and you had Grandma Peg's tea set. There's a dozen tea set, but there were only 10 cups left. So you had 5 each, and 6 plates and saucers, I think. Also, several little knickknacks from Auntie's home that I thought you might enjoy having. And there's also a small mirror which Aunt Ada left for you. When we come to see you, you shall have them. As Daddy said, if there's anything else that you can think of that we still have when you let us know, we should be pleased to bring it. Perhaps when you write, you can tell us what sort of things you're short of. Whether it is whether you need cutlery or whether you would like finer. Although, as I say, there's not a great deal of that is any value. Of course, the one thing that we have, which you're in need of and perhaps have already bought for yourself, is pictures, picture frames. But I doubt whether they are, it is worth the expense of sending them to you. Postage is so very, very costly these days. Often it costs as much as the value of the goods that one is sending, even sometimes more. Of course, we have some very nice pictures. The two old prints that were Grandma Tinker's I have taken to Uncle Jack. He always wished to have them, and he was very delighted when he had them back. They had belonged to his mother, of course. Perhaps you remember that Father had some copper plate etchings which were done by his half-cousin, relatives of his stepfather, and they are also very nicely framed in oak. But we shall have no room for pictures to that number in the new house. We seem to have so many windows that with very little wall space left. It's going to be a very nice light house to live in, except that the kitchen faces up the hill and seems to be a little dark. But maybe when the builder's shed is removed from the back, it will be much lighter. At the moment, it's only about 12 feet away from the window, and is quite a big affair. Don't know if you remember the very nice red may tree in the paddock. We've managed to save that, and it's standing between the dining room and the garage. You can see it over the top of the bungalow from the front of the house, and well, it makes the house look as if it's not quite so stark and naked looking on a bare patch of ground. We also have moved the hedge at the gateway so that we take one of the big beech trees into our plot. Plots used to taper towards the roadway, and we've straightened it out a little bit. It's a little wider now than it was before. As a matter of fact, the hedge was moved in the very early stages, when we had a bulldozer to level the site and dig the foundations. We got the gardener to dig a trench, and then the bulldozer came and lifted the hedge, a shovel at a time, into the trench. And I'm very pleased to say it's taken quite well. It survived a couple of dry months in the early summertime, so cold, and now it's still green. This summer has been a very, very poor one indeed. We haven't had any really warm weather at all. The best months in the year, or the best weather in the year, was a fortnight in February, and then 3 weeks in the beginning of October. We had a fine week during our 3 weeks holiday this summer, but it wasn't really hot, and I believe there was another good week sometime in June. But I don't remember any day when the temperature reached 70, which to you, of course, will be very cool. Hello, Betty. I'm Rick. Here I am again. And today is the next day, the 27th of November. And incidentally, Uncle Jack's 96th birthday. I looked it up yesterday after I had finished talking to you.
Well, Betty, now, Mummy, I've just come in from the office. It's now about 7:15, and Mummy said, well, now, would you like to record something more to put on the tape while I get the meal? So here I am. Today is the 27th of November. Time just goes without thinking. I don't know whether Mummy told you that Miss Ewan got your Christmas card this week. She was delighted with it and fixed the array of names are most impressive and very lovely. She no doubt will be getting a card back from her. I think you know that she already has a flat in Wrexham now, a new flat, a very delightful one, and she's certainly been much happier in that since she had a place of her own, and she was previously living with a sort of room hired off from a landlady in the house. It's a bit of a pathetic life she leads. All her family is spread about all over the place. She's really no home. She talks about going home, but that means going to brother's place in Aberdeen, which is his home and not hers really. And I think when women who've been in business all their lives and getting near retiring age, this thing it always gets rather pathetic. However, there's many who have to do it, and I suppose always will. The last weekend, I expect Mummy's already told you, we had a terrible snowstorm. That was the weekend before last, and it caused us in the switchboard an awful lot of trouble and damage. Ice forming on the conductors, breaking them, blizzard of a gale, blowing. I see in this morning's paper it's reported that if Khrushchev gets an invitation, he might consider coming to the International Escape Visit in Gosling this next year. Certainly if he did, it would put the prices of everything up, I think, and we ought to hang on to Plough's Wing and let out the rooms at a very high price for that week. But I don't suppose we shall, and I doubt whether you'll come. But it would certainly be quite a sensation, and one which would, I think, go down very well, certainly be good propaganda from their point of view. There's also some talk of the possibility of a Russian choir being allowed to come for the first time. Whatever his action is, it would be for the benefit of Russia, either by direct action or for its propaganda purposes. And I don't think reasonably we can expect anything else from their reactions to our approaches. The history goes back an awful long way. Being an isolated sort of nation, I remember reading nearly a couple of years ago a reproduction from the times of 150 years previously, where the then ambassador to Russia from England was complaining about Russia's difficulty of getting on with the Russians, being very secretive, and they were unreliable, and they couldn't depend upon what they said, and so on. In fact, the whole statement was such that if one had just changed the dates, it could have been said any period in the last few years. So I can't see any reason why they should change. It's funny how we keep coming back to what Russia is thinking and what China is doing. It's certainly dominating the age in which we live, and as far as I think, it is likely to dominate in some decades in the future, till long after I'm finished on this mortal toil. This sort of impromptu talk, I feel somehow is not too satisfactory. I don't know how it comes over to you, but tomorrow night we are going to a staff party in Wrexham, the Christmas staff party, and then on Thursday night we have to go to the Christmas staff party in Crewe, which is probably a little distance away, and so often we clock in either for ice, snow, or fog. We're hoping that this year we'll make an exception, and that the rest we can come back in a decent fine night in reasonable style and in comfort. As you will have gathered, we've started the series of Christmas parties that take place in my area, and the next week we go to Oswestry on the Friday night, and the Friday night after that we go to the Christmas party at Carnarvon. You'll remember Betty going to the one at Aberystwyth. This year it doesn't take place until after Christmas. It's the question of trying to find a convenient time. Now you can probably hear the clock chiming out 7 o'clock, which means that Mummy now has the evening meal ready. So, assuming the children were all here round this fireside, we should say, well, now it's time you're all in bed. So for tonight, I'll say good night. God bless you all.
Hello, here we are again, and today is the 28th of November, and still the record isn't finished or posted. Last night, before Daddy put his message on the tape, I had spent nearly 3/4 of an hour talking to you and had very nearly finished it, when to my dismay I found that the needle was pointing to play and not record. I just can't remember what I said, and I have a fear that I shall say something that I've already put on the tape. Can't remember whether it was on before or whether it was in that piece, so if you get any repetitions, please forgive me. I'm now going to endeavour to tell you more news, and also to talk to each of the children. First of all, the newest one, young David Bruce. He, of course, won't know that he's even got a grandma in England, or Wales, I should say, and he won't bother anyway if he could hear. But all the same, lots of love from all of us here. Give him a big hug and kisses, Betty. I wish I could see him as he is now, but never mind, perhaps you'll be sending us some photographs in the new year. And so we'll pass on to John. John we only know through his pictures, and I suppose he only knows us through pictures. Maybe he remembers being urged to say hello, Grandma, last Christmas, and found everything else but saying hello, Grandma, or hello, Grandpa, just what he wanted to do. But this year I'm hoping we shall hear him really have something to say, and imagine that now he's got a little brother, he's getting quite grown up. So, happy Christmas, John. I hope Father Christmas is good to you. I hope you've been a good boy and earned something very nice in your stocking. And I hope you'll have lots of nice things and much happiness on this Christmas Day. Well, there goes the old clock again, and it's nearly midday. So now we'll pass on to Miffy. Now we have seen Miffy, but she was only a tiny baby, not very much bigger than David is at the present time, a few months older. But we can see from her pictures that she's a very lively and happy little girl, and I'm sure she's being a great help to Mummy these days. And I expect that by now you're beginning to read and write quite well. What else do you like to do at school? And are you musical, or can you sing? Last year I think you had a bad cold and didn't sing very much. I mean, on the tape. Anyway, to you, all our love, and a very, very happy Christmas, dear. And I hope next year is going to be a happy year too, and that you're going to do very, very well in school too. And so now it's Mary's turn. Now, Mary, we have a picture of you this year in your brownie uniform. I expect by now you are getting quite proficient in brownie work. I see you still have very, very fair hair like Daddy's. And the blue eyes too that I always used to hope one of my children would have. Of course your eyes never change colour, we know that. I can see that you are very much like your other grandma. And I hope that you'll be able to do all the things that she does so well when you grow older. I wonder if when the tape comes we shall hear from you what you think of your new school, how far you have to go to school, and how many girls you have in your class, and how you're getting on at school too. I expect we shall. I expect Daddy will be suggesting that you tell us all about it. And to you too, a very happy Christmas, dear, and lots of love from Grandma and Grandpa, and you'll just have to imagine the kiss you'd get if we were there. So now to Reggie, and I expect by this time, Reggie, you're as tall as I am, because I'm not the tallest in the family by a long way. Mummy is taller than I am, and certainly your Daddy is, and I hear that you're getting to be nearly as tall as Mother. Mother also tells me that this year you've started to learn to play the piano, and I expect you enjoy that. Also that you've been staying with Grandma for quite a long time down at the farm, and I expect you've enjoyed that too. We wonder whether you're going to play for us on the tape. Perhaps you will do that. How do you like your new school? You've had a lot of changes in the last few years, haven't you? If you can hear any banging noises in the background, it's the carpenter hammering on the roof timbers of the garage. That's the only thing that's not quite finished structurally. Today they're putting the battens on the beams, ready to have it felted and tiled. Now I've mentioned it, they've stopped, so maybe you'll hear it later on in the tape. I suppose they've got down to go and get more wood. We all send our very best wishes to you for a happy Christmas and a very happy and prosperous 1963. We'd love to be with you, but never mind, it won't be too long before we manage it, we hope. Everything is well with all of us. So now I'll pass on to Ricky. Well, Rick, you must be getting quite a young man. I wonder if you're having to think what you're going to do when you leave school, although I know you've still got quite a long time before you set out in the world. But when one gets to 13 or 14, as you'll be next birthday, you have to begin to think what sort of job you're going to do, whether it will be scientific or on the arts side of things. I wonder what it is that you secretly think of, or think you might like to do most of all. Of course, it isn't always easy to do just what you want. But anyway, don't forget that every moment you live, you can't live it again. You can make up for some of the things you've lost or haven't done, but you can't have the time over again. And yesterday, Grandpa met a young friend of ours in the village and asked him what he was going to do. He was 17, and he said, well, I would like to go into engineering. So Grandpa said, well, what's stopping you? Well, he said, I've wasted an awful lot of time at school. I've been fooling about and having a good time instead of doing work as well as play. And he said, now I haven't got good enough examination results, and I'm having to start and work very hard to try and do it in the next 12 months. Otherwise, I shall be too late, and I shall have to do something that I didn't really want to do. So you just take a lesson from that. But perhaps that warning isn't necessary for you. Perhaps you're one of these boys who works hard and plays hard too. I seem to remember at one time you were learning to play some sort of wind instrument. I haven't heard anything much about it of recent months. Do you still do it? And are you getting to be proficient at it? Do you sing either? Well, I expect whatever you do, you enjoy it. And I hope that you're going to have a very jolly and happy Christmas with all the rest of the family. And we all wish you the very best of luck in your school life and your future. Bye, Ricky, for now. Well, I've just been and played back what I put on this morning, just to see that it's all okay. So now I'll have a little more to say, talk to Rick. It would be nice to see you, Rick, but as I said earlier to Reggie, well, perhaps it won't be so long. This last year has passed so very, very quickly, and we seem to have achieved so little. It's been a very busy year. Daddy's year as chairman of the local IUE centre has made him extremely busy, and there's been a great deal of new work in the office too, and many new officials due to one thing and another. We've had quite a crop of sudden deaths, which has set him back very badly. A great many people seem to suffer with heart trouble these days, and it has robbed from three chief officers. And of course, new people coming into the job take time to settle down and feel their feet. So it has really been a very busy year for him. And I have missed him. He's been away from home a great deal. Of course, we didn't realise how much work was needed on the thought side of having the house built. And I'm afraid that we've discovered many things that we've forgotten to look into in the early days. But things are coming along nicely, and we hope that we shall have all we want, or we hope for. I think in what I thought I'd said yesterday, I was telling you about the house, and that we had a certain amount of central heating from the open fire in the lounge. Also, we've installed night storage heating electrically, which is very much cheaper than ordinary electric heating as an alternative. And of course, we have a goodly number of 2 or 3 different kinds of electric fires, radiators, convectors, and whatnot, which we can use in periods when a continuous burning fire or continuous night heating isn't necessary. We've had the house well lagged, and the heating system, the hot water system, has been well lagged too. The only thing we haven't got is double windows. But it's not quite so necessary in our climate as in one of extremes like yours. We thought we'd put it off and see how it works out. It's something that we can always add afterwards. We shall have an awful lot of work to do on the garden. When the builders first came, I asked them if they could manage to keep their cattle on the drive, and not to spoil the grass that I'd very diligently mowed last year and cleared it quite considerably. But what a hope! They spread themselves all over everything. So we shall have to begin from A and remake the front garden. For that, we have the old orchard, and I don't think we shall do a great deal with that. We may grow a few vegetables, just not too far from the house. And I hope to make a little garden, a little flower garden, near to the windows, so that we have few flowers to look at after the back windows as well as the front. You seem to travel an awful lot with your area is bigger or bigger than Grandpa's. You in Betty's letter to us at the time that David was born, she told us he came in from Charlestown in West Virginia. But at one time you used to go out in Maryland towards Baltimore and Philadelphia. I think you like the change. I don't think your mother is just into West Virginia one day whilst I stayed with you. You certainly have territory to work with. And in that way you're as fortunate as we are. I wonder whether you find the territory more closely populated in South Virginia than in the north, where you were before, where the townships seem to be so small by our standards. Lovettsville would only count as a village here. But we shall hope to hear some of your comments on the countryside and what it's like. Of course, I understand it's much more like England in building than in other parts of America, but whether that's true or not, I don't know. We have an ESO map which Betty sent, which shows Franklin Street on it, and I suppose really that you're at the western end of that, not too far from the north and south main road, which runs down to Douglasdale Road, which was also main. So you see, we have a little idea whereabouts you live in Richmond. We wonder whether you're on the north side of the street or the south side, whether you have the sun shining on the back of your house or on the front. Perhaps someday somebody might mention that when they write or talk to us. From Betty's description, it sounds a very pleasant house. The only thing I wonder about is the number of stairs, but there you are. If you have a large family, you have to have a lot of rooms, and if you have a lot of rooms, unless you're going to have to walk long distances from one end to the other, you've got to go up and down. And after all, I suppose it's most economical to have the stairs in the house, because ground is so costly these days. We're really looking forward to 1964 and planning to come and see you then if all goes well. Because we can't ever be sure, but we do hope that our hopes and wishes will materialise. And we hope that we'll be able to stay with you a little while and really get to know your surroundings, your friends and your family. You really have a family to be proud of you. And, I know that Betty is very happy with you and with her family, and we're very grateful to you. I think it's quite possible that your mother will be with you. If not, she probably wants to hear the tape, and so I'm going to send a greeting to her. Hello, Isabel. Our very best wishes to you. We're so glad to hear that you're able to come and visit Betty and Rick, and that they get to see you pretty frequently. And I'm awfully glad that you were with Betty when David was born. Must be very nice to be able to do these things. I wish I could. See, I have Mary, but Mary doesn't have any more family. I thoroughly enjoyed being with her when Anthony was a little boy, and I've enjoyed having Anthony visit us and going to see him so much. Now he's gone to boarding school, of course I don't see very often. I always feel very envious when I see the annual photographs of the family get-together down at Bollington. They're always most interesting, but I think you're extremely lucky to have all your family around you and within visiting distance. The same sort of thing happens in the village here, you know. Nearly everybody in the village has a relative somewhere. And so many of them are related to one another. The sons and daughters live down the road or in the next village or the next town. Sisters and brothers live along the road. The cousins go to school together. And I know it can have its disadvantages, but at the same time, it's very nice not to have to make a long journey to see those you love. Lots of good wishes to you and very affectionate greetings. I hope we shall see you in a couple of years' time, 18 months' time, 2 years' time, perhaps 2 years' time, we're spending Christmas in America. I don't know. But I know. Now, Betty dear, you seem to have been left to the last. There's so much I would like to say to you, and I can see the tapes getting towards the end. I hope that you're really fit again, and that you won't overdo things. Your letter describing the layout of the house was most interesting, but unfortunately I have mislaid it. I don't know whether I left it with Mary or what, but I just can't find it, and I wanted to refresh my memory before I spoke to you. As I said to Rick just now, it seems a very nice house, and you say it's a very happy house, and you're very pleased and delighted with it. I do hope that you just won't find the stairs too crowded. You have to try organise things so that you don't have to go up and down too much. It's nice too that you have a good garden and some trees in it. Of course, one gets this with the older type of house. We were reading in Time this week about some new flats in New York and how they suffer from any of the troubles that we know are experienced in this country. The walls are thin, one can hear that what happens in the next room, even in the next house. When it said that you could feel the pages of the magazine being turned, and you get really to know your neighbour's timetable by the washing in the toilet and the garden in the bathroom, etc., etc. Something you don't have in an old house. I don't know how we are going to like having next door neighbours again. It all depends on who buys this place. And we wonder why anybody would want such a big house unless it were a family like yours. It would be an ideal house for you. Of course, were it nearer to a town or in a town, it would be very easy to dispose of. I believe this paper is going to advertise it next month in Country Life. We think that perhaps somebody might come and see it over the Christmas holiday. I believe I said on the piece it wasn't recorded, because I have spent a lot of time clearing things up. I sent them on terrible folder, I keep old letters, old Christmas cards, old magazines, all sorts of material, hoping that someday they'll come into use again, or find some use for them. And also keep old clothes, and lots and lots of books. No doubt you remember the muddle we got in when we sorted out in the top storeroom and the playroom the things that you put back to America with you. Since then Mary's been and had another clear out, and I have bundled up a great many things. John went through all his possessions and turned out toys that he felt he couldn't keep in case he ever had a family. Many of them were broken because he'd always had quite a large box full of toys in the playroom for our young friends to visit us, and gradually those disintegrated. But I have found it, and I've put something aside, tied it up, ready to go away, either to the dustbin or to some jumble sale, or we put aside for the sale which will have to have in our surplus things. Someone's come along and said, "You're not getting rid of this, are you, Mummy?" "Oh, I don't want half of that." Because I remember last weekend at one, when John was home, I had cleared out Grandpa's bureau. In it were many books of photographs, some of them that I remember as a child, showing my parents, relatives, and their grandparents' relatives. I can't even remember who some of the people are now. I didn't throw them away or destroy them, but I kept them aside because to me some of them were amusing, some were interesting, so I thought, well, perhaps Mary and John would like to look at these. So John took one out and looked at it, and he said, "Well, you don't get rid of these, huh? You keep them, I should like them anyway." And he proceeded to take 2 or 3 photographs of Grandpa Allison, taken when he was in India, and I said, "And what are you going to do with those?" He said, "Well, I'm going to put them on my bedroom wall. But the other fellow's got his girlfriend on the wall, and I feel I must have something to arrange." John is a worshipper of pastime. He likes old houses, old furniture, old china, and old photographs. Cousin Nellie, Aunt Harriet's daughter, and her husband were with us a few weekends ago, and she looked through them. And among the photographs was one of her mother and father on their wedding day. Nellie had never seen it, And she said, "Oh, I should love to have that pattern." I said, "Oh, it's from Nancy." I said, "Well, I got it for you. I thought you would like to have it." So she went away with it. And really, Aunt Harriet's wedding dress was fabulous. Of course, it was long, and it was a light colour, pretty more white, actually, made of some fine wood too, trimmed with lace. The lace was about 9 or 10 inches deep. There was a floor around a large yoke, the sort of jabber ruffle down the front, and there was a beautiful frill round the bottom of the skirt, which was very full and came to a sort of a short train about it. It had long sleeves with cuffs that reached nearly to the elbow, and cuff sleeves above that, fitting into the top of the cuff, rather full top sleeves. And then you had it on top of all those wonderful large hat with white ostrich feathers. No doubt she was at the height of fashion on the day when the wedding took place, and she certainly looked very proud of herself. Uncle, of course, was wearing his regimental uniform, which consisted of dark blue trousers with a scarlet stripe down the side, and a scarlet coat with white facings, and a bolstering, which you will remember was made of black bearskin, a tall hat, and it had a yellow canary feather. I forget the name of the little gadget that they stuck in the side of the hat. Anyway, some of those I'll bring and show you when we come to see you. I can manage to find room in the new house to keep them too. I hope you're being able to nurse David for a couple of months anyway. Gives him a good start. Of course, these days people don't nurse their babies for so many months as they used to. And as soon as you wean him, then no doubt you'll begin to lose weight and be able to have your treatment again. We do hope you'll enjoy good health and get back to your normal size. I'm glad you found some use for the dresses that I sent. Hopefully you'll enjoy them. I believe on the other piece that was blacked out, I told you quite a lot about the WVS. I joined it because the previous centre organiser applied suddenly. They were without one here. Really, the job is that of a liaison officer between the members of the WVS and the organisers. Really, the WVS is an offshoot of the Home Office, and the members are chiefly engaged in welfare work. They give their time freely, but if they need travelling expenses, those are granted to them in special cases. And they do all kinds of work. In peacetime, of course, chiefly with the old, the aged, and the very young. WBS runs a holiday scheme for needy children in cities, being the contact between the city and the country. They find suitable homes, and they also vet suitable children or needy children that have holidays in the country for a week or 2 weeks in summer. The children are met by other WBS people and were escorted across cities by train, met and taken to their new homes. They also do a great deal of collecting clothing, repairing, altering, remaking, and making new clothes for the Red Cross bundles for refugee work. At the moment, after the disasters in Persia and Spain this summer, I believe that and also, of course, in Algeria, the supplies are somewhat depleted. And when I went to Cardiff recently to see the Wales office in action, I saw there many willing helpers in a room with half a dozen sewing machines, ironing boards, etc., busily sewing away, making garments to replenish the stocks so that they'll be ready for the next emergency. Of course, in any sudden emergency, such as a railway accident or floods or earthquakes, not that we have earthquakes in this country, the WVS always turn up with their mobile canteens, and they also do quite a lot of work with the services. And for that, young women between 24 and 40 are recruited, and they have special training and serve overseas with the men. For this, they're paid. At that moment, Mrs. Davis came in to wish me good morning, and so I stopped, and I have listened to what I said. I noticed that the later parts of the tape I seem to be speaking very slowly and in a very deep voice. I think really it's because the tape is rather tightly wound on the disc and it's travelling too slowly. I was thinking, whilst I ate my lunch as I listened to this, that often on your tape you told us what you were going to eat. And I thought then, well, I might have told Betty and Rick what we were going to eat last night when we had our supper. As you know, Daddy is a vegetarian now. He never eats fish, flesh or fowl, white bread or white sugar, and no condiments. And for supper last night we had celery and apple salad with a little tomato, and vegetable pate, which I buy in small tins. It's rather like liver sausage to look at, and tastes very similar too, made from ground nuts and grated vegetables and herbs, and it's very, very tasty indeed. We also had cheese and brown bread and butter, and coffee to drink. We sometimes have cake or pastry, but not very frequently. Most often we have fruit for a dessert, if we have any. For breakfast we have fruit, again, raw fruit. The idea is to have as much raw food as possible. Raw vegetables grated, and we make salads with lettuce and often with raw cabbage, the heart of a white cabbage. And we also have sometimes, I just can't remember the name of the things. You have them more frequently than we do. They're something like a tomato. Oh, red or green peppers. Of course, we use watercress and spring onions and cucumber, radishes, whenever we can get them or grow them. Breakfast usually consists of an orange and an apple, all cut up or split up, perhaps sometimes banana with it, pecan nuts, and sometimes grapes. Well, most often we have green grapes as well, and brown bread and butter and tea. When we go out to dinner, it usually causes a little consternation when he says, "Only vegetables for me, please," and sometimes he's given an omelette as well, if there's time to do it for him. Now, it's very near the end of the tape. I am afraid it's largely my effort, and I'm sorry for this, but I hope that you've learned a little more about our doings, and that you know a little more how we live. I'm afraid I'm a poor correspondent. I am very stilted and brief in my sentence making and don't digress very much to give details. Perhaps in the conversation you've heard more details. So I'll say Happy Christmas, all of you. All our love and all the good wishes that you could possibly have. There's a slight amount of tape left, and I'm just going to leave it for Daddy to say the same when he comes in this afternoon before we go out for our evening's gallivanting. Lots of love to everybody. Bye-bye from Mummy.
Dear Betty and Rick, this is all wrong. Really, this sort of horrid attempt to achieve to fill a tape is sent to you. We really ought, I think, to have smaller tapes and do them more frequently. But, however, Mummy, in her usual thoughtful way, has left me a bit, as I didn't pass on greetings to you, hoping to have more opportunity of saying some more before we came to the end of this tape. However, she's anxious to get it mailed, otherwise it will not be in due time, which would be unfortunate, as these things I think are nicer on the day than actually there. Well, last night we went out to dance. I don't know whether Mummy told you we were going or not. Mummy is sitting in the room with me. She says, I am. So we didn't get to bed until after 2 o'clock. I've got an appointment in Bala this morning. I've go to the office first, and I'm doing this actually before I set off. Feeling a bit weary this morning. We have to go to Crewe. I may have told you that earlier on, but I can't remember. For another party tonight. And Mummy's just suggested that we do stay overnight there. We're getting a bit too old, I suppose, to take 2 nights in succession the way that we could put up with years ago. So to you, Betty, to you, Rick, to you, Ricky, Reggie, Niffy, oh, Mary, nearly forgot Mary, John, and David, and Grandma. All my very best wishes for Christmas and the New Year. God bless you all.
Well, I see that Daddy has left a slight amount of tape, and it seems a pity to waste it, so here I am again. I'm hoping that this is going to reach you in time. I'm just about to go and post it, hoping I shan't have to airmail it. And, well, I hope you will have a very, very happy Christmas. And we'll look forward to listening to your tape. Bye for now. God bless all of you. And here I am again. I let that tape run off to the end, and it seemed to be such a pity again. How deceptive these things are. It ran for a couple of minutes. Oh, it's quite nice weather here today, except that the sun isn't shining. Dull, mild, no wind. Good day for brushing up the leaves that are still on the ground. And one of the garden helpers is busily doing that. No sign of the snow we had nearly 2 weeks ago, and I hope it doesn't come back for a little while. And the plasterers are busy. It's just the right weather for them. And I wonder what sort of weather you're having. You may be having snow again by now. Bye-bye.